A very good morning to you. It is the 14th day of August 2026. It's a Feel Good Friday right here on TV47 Breakfast. My name is Annie Odida. Karibu sana.
My name is Fred Ndimuli. Indeed, a Feel Good Friday after such a long weekend. Baridi imekuja nini. Leo ni siku ya kusakata rumba.
Yes.
Ukiona Annie Odida vile amevaa leo unajua basi. Leo ni ile siku. Ishafika.
So you have to stay tuned to find out vile Annie Odida amevaa leo.
Ni weekend imefika.
Yes.
Tunakwenda kujirusha. Anyway, before tuanze kujirusha, there's a lot to talk about. Yesterday, for the first time, President William Ruto came out na akasema wale wengine munajua ule sponsor wao.
Yes.
Pointing fingers at his predecessor.
Yeah.
Yes. A big story indeed.
Right.
Plus, of course, big discussions around Vision 2060 continuing. Today being the youth perspective, that will form part of our discussion with young Kenyan political minds. Do stand by for that and a lot more.
Absolutely. Let me keep you on the radar on what to expect today. Kuppet teacher strike that issued a strike notice that would begin today on the August 14th. There was something that was to start today, the cyber cafes, to begin new customer identification rules. We captured this on one of the dailies sometime this week. I think it was on Tuesday or Wednesday. So that begins today. So cyber cafes will be recording your IDs and new regulatory requirements. Another thing that is happening today, EPRA, fuel prices.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Je, zitapanda, zitashuka.
Right. Globally, okay, you want to say something?
No, it's a piece of legislation that I've seen. Parliament this week managed to pass the Kenya Roads Amendment Bill. It's awaiting presidential assent. Now this one, among other things, it will provide for changes such as dedicated cycling lanes and pedestrian walkways. Unajua vile watu wanajenga tu barabara, just the main road ya gari, and then there's no side lane. The side lane ideally should be for cyclists.
Yeah.
Alafu, not motorcyclists, for cyclists. Watu wa pikipiki wakae na magari, na watu wa pedestrians pia waekewe yao. So this law, if it goes away, it is, then it will be a big game changer for many Kenyans.
Right. It's also World Lizard Day. Yani nashangaa sana. Because you know when you see a lizard, most of the time you'd be like, what is this thing doing in my house? What is this thing doing here? Unataka ukate mkia. Wanasema ukikata mkia ya lizard. This is a myth, I know from where I come from. That ukikata mkia ya lizard, then the days would go faster.
Really?
Yeah.
So how many have you cut?
I'm very afraid of lizard, but let's see why they're celebrating this day. That it is one of, as part of larger global effort to recognize, learn about and take care of the planet, many different days have been set aside to honor animal and plant life, including lizards. So yeah, usikate mkia ya lizard like we do back in Seme.
Interesting. Of course, interact with us throughout the show. It's TV47 Digital on X, TV47 Kenya on Facebook, Instagram, and on YouTube, where we're streaming live. Remember, the hashtag to use throughout the entirety of this show is TV47 Breakfast, hashtag Story Nietu. Tag us as well. My handle is at Fred Ndimuli.
My handle is at Annie_Odida. Use the hashtag Feel Good Friday as well. Let's see how the weather's looking this morning. All right, so it is a cold morning in Nairobi, but the good thing is jua ikiwaka pia kunakuwa na joto. But let's see how it's looking like this morning. Kisumu, it's a mostly cloudy day, 18 degrees this morning, highs of 30 degrees. A mostly cloudy day as well in Kisii, 16 degrees this morning, highs of 28. Kilifi, it's a sunny day, highs of 29 degrees this morning, it's 14 degrees. The weather in Kilifi is so nice.
Holiday.
Double K. Yeah, holiday weather in Kilifi. Kitui, it's a sunny day, 16 degrees this morning, highs of 28 degrees. It's a sunny day in Kiambu County. That is highs of 25 degrees, right? And Nairobi, it's a sunny day today. Wonderful. It's long overdue. 13 degrees this morning, highs of 26 degrees in Nairobi today. Very sunny day. That's the state of the weather.
Yes, there's a trend that nowadays you wake up and it's so cold in the morning, early morning like now.
Yes.
It's so cold, it feels like 9 degrees in Nairobi. But then by the time it gets to 9 a.m., it's very hot, like you say. Nairobi today, feel good weather.
Yes.
Yes. Let's get the quote of the day.
Life's true value isn't measured in years but in moments well spent, with meaning, love, courage, and purpose, defining a life of true richness and worth.
All right, let's come back and take a look at the dailies this morning. Very interesting stories indeed, especially when it comes to politics.
Yes, everybody does.
Just look at that. This is the Standard this morning. Sijui kwa nini nacheka.
Kwa nini unacheka?
Because, you know, I've been hosting some of these MPs here. And I remember a few months back, someone like the Gatundu South MP, Gabriel Kagombe, was a very vocal defender of UDA and President William Ruto. Now he's listed here among people who are exiting. And we have that story we'll be showing you later. Do stand by for that. Now they're saying it is crumbling. This is a continued coverage of 2027 road to general election by the Standard. UDA falling apart. With less than a year to the 2027 elections, President Ruto's UDA is facing a growing wave of defections as politicians abandon the ruling party amid claims of broken promises, political exclusion, and frustration with its leadership. MPs Gabriel Kagombe and Muthoni Marufu are the latest to quit, while ex-DP Gachagwa's DCP has attracted scores of leaders, particularly from Mount Kenya. Now, the exodus has exposed deepening cracks within UDA, with senior leaders warning the party is losing ground. As politicians scramble for new political homes, the shifting alliances signal a bruising battle for control ahead of next year's contest. But you know what? This is nothing new. Every time we get closer to an election, watu wanakuanga wamekasirika sana, wasema tuko tunajua, we had not seen this coming. No.
Yeah.
We have been betrayed. This is not what we bargained for. Alafu wana jump ship. Yeah.
Everybody's trying to survive.
It is survival for the fittest, let me tell you. And it's going to get worse because as you get closer to the elections and people will be eager to defend their seats, people will be eager, even public servants, public officers will want to run for political seats. You'll see a lot of resignations from government, a lot of PSs, CSs saying, okay, fine, now mimi nimetoka. Ni mambo ya kawaida. So I'm not really shocked. I don't really think, to be honest, I don't really think that UDA is crumbling. After all, so amekuwa propped up by ile chama ya power.
Yes.
So wana crumble wapi. But anyway, that's the headline on the front page of the Standard. It's a season of defection. Kuna mtu alisema this is a season of madness. Yes. So, pale they've listed Millicent Omanga, a former senator, Moses Badilisha, Governor Nyandarua, Kemani Mwamatangi, Kiambu Governor, Marufu, ule woman rep wa Lamu, we've mentioned her. Irungo Kangata was one of those vocal ones who said, hey, I'm no longer in UDA. Yeah. Mohamed Ali, Enyali MP, alitoka kitambo. Aisha Jumwa, former Malindi MP. Gabriel Kagombe, Gatundu South MP. All these, ladies and gentlemen, have already left UDA, not necessarily to DCP. Some of them are just hanging out there. We still await to see their next move. If we look at the inside pages of the Standard, court dismisses case between neighbors over dogs barking. Kuna mtu alisema hii mbwa ya neighbor inapiga kelele sana akaenda kotini. Koti imesema sasa hiyo sijui tutakusaidia aje. Yeah. The issue was that the dogs were allegedly barking every time they passed by her door.
Oh, wow.
Zikipita tu kwa mlango wake zinapiga kelele. Maybe kuna harufu ya nyama, unajua huwezi jua. Yeah. Okay, that's a story on page 3.
Yeah. But that's petty though.
Well,
imagine unaenda court kusema paka yangu inatembea sana in the neighborhood.
But don't you think that if at all you have pets, you're supposed to take care of them? They should not be disturbing. Probably I don't like dogs or cats in my compound. Why should your pet be disturbing my peace.
But you said this dog was just passing by.
I know people who employ very radical measures when those things happen. Kama you wameenda hadi kotini, it's not working. Utatafuta hiyo pet utaipata.
Watailisha.
Itashiba. IG orders officers interdicted when suspects die in cells. This is a big one. The Inspector General of Police, Douglas Kanja, has ordered the immediate interdiction of police officers on duty whenever a suspect dies in custody. I think that's a good move by the police IG. Si ati mtu anakufa na nyinyi mnaendelea kufanya kazi kama nani. Yes, UDA losing key leaders. That's a story we've mentioned. We'll talk about it. Questions as Kindiki and Mudavadi allies miss in UDA ODM talks. Kindiki was there though, but his allies, the Deputy President and Prime Cabinet Secretary, his allies have no representation in the committee discussing a power-sharing deal by the two parties. That's a big message. You know, people need to understand that the broad-based arrangement and the MOU that was signed was between two parties, not Kenya Kwanza Coalition and ODM. It was between UDA and ODM.
Right.
Full stop. When you talk about Prime Cabinet Secretary, he is a member of UDA because he dissolved his party, the ANC. Now he's a member, so he's represented there. Someone like Ford Kenya, Moses Wetangula, he's nowhere because he is not UDA. He is Ford Kenya. People need to understand and distinguish between those two. It is ODM UDA. So even Deputy President Kindiki is represented as a member of UDA. You cannot imagine now that he'll come as his own entity as Deputy President. He does not have a party. That's a story there. MPs finally passed public participation bill years later. That's a good story on page 7. Any small thing, if you disagree with anything in this country, people will just rush to court to get orders to stop anything. You can read that story on page 7, public participation. Vision 2060 finds a space on page 6. Ruto's Vision 2060 sparks legal debate. There are so many other stories, but those are the main ones. On the back page, Yembe, the first Kenyan referee to officiate a UEFA competition. Kenya's Stephen Yembe is taking a picture there with the referees team that officiated the Super Cup tie between PSG and Aston Villa on Wednesday. Yes, he's an assistant referee, Stephen Yembe. First Kenyan to officiate UEFA competition. He officiated the FIFA Club World Cup. He's an assistant referee in the CAF Champions League. He was selected for AFCON 2025. He officiated the Paris Olympic Games, served as VAR at the CHAN tournament, officiated the AFCON Under-23 final, and earned his FIFA assistant referee badge. He completed a 2-year refereeing course in Zurich. Kenya took on mbele pia. And that's the Standard. They call it the bold newspaper.
So, as we talk about UDA crumbling, huku kwingine Taifa Leo Gachagua anakaza kamba DCP. Wanasiasa waliochaguliwa katika eneo la Mlima Kenya wanaoanza kujitenga na chama cha UDA chake Rais William Ruto na kujiunga na DCP wanakabiliwa na mtihani mpya. DCP chini aliyekuwa naibu rais Rigathi Gachagua kimeweka wazi kwa kujiunga na chama hicho hakumaanishi mwanasiasa atapewa tiketi ya moja kwa moja kugombea katika uchaguzi mkuu wa mwaka ujao. Sasa wanaomezea mate tikiti ya DCP kupigwa msasa, washirika wa Rigathi kupewa kipaumbele kweli. Truly, washirika of course wanafaa wapewe kipaumbele. They're the ones who started this party. They've done all they could to popularize this party. Then wewe umeenda huko ukapiga sherehe kwa hiyo party nyingine, umeenjoy your life. Unakuja unataka ku overtake people who've been here, who've been doing all they can to make this party popular.
Imagine someone, let's use the example of Ol Kalou. So you are there campaigning for UDA. These are the people campaigning for DCP, and the DCP candidate wins. Then now finally you defect from UDA, you want to go to DCP and get a direct ticket. Mimi hapa.
Wacha mchezo.
Wewe kwani wewe ni nani?
Enda huko.
It doesn't work like that.
Yes. Vidokezo zaidi, Mkenya apewa mamilioni USA kukuza managu. Wow. Na mradi wa kuzalisha mboga za kienyeji wapigwa jeki kupitia ufadhili wa shilingi milioni 1.3. Huyu anaitwa jina yake haijaandikwa hapa, lakini she's a very lovely lady there. Zogo la bajeti la kuhamisha Machakos ni mvutano kati ya gavana wa Vinya Ndeti na MCAs watishia kuvuruga utoaji wa huduma. Bas, yesterday he told you that Zambians were voting. So Hichilema aelekea ikulu muhula mpya. Rais Hichilema anaonekana kuwa na nafasi nzuri ya kushinda muhula wa pili ya Zambia. Yeah, he's leading.
Anakaa anaweza kuwa 2 term.
Yes, yeah, ni 2 term. Ichilema clearly according to Taifa Leo, Ichilema ni 2 term kwa kwao. Wahuduma wa KTDA wakamatwa kwa kuvuruga mizani. Wamekamatwa na kushtakiwa kwa madai ya kuvuruga mizani inayotumiwa kupima majani chai yanayowasilishwa na wakulima. And you've been talking about tea a lot on the show.
Yes. We've been talking about tea because of the new levy introduced. And I think it's been 3 months old now. It started in May. But inasemekana hawajapata hiyo pesa bado. Iko tu pesa wakulima haijawafikia mfukoni bado.
Yeah, so wakulima wanalia kweli. That's Taifa Leo this morning.
Talking about 2 term, let's go to the front page of the Daily Nation, and it talks about governors. Governors who've only served 1 term so far, and they're seeking re-election. Governors race against time. First-term county chiefs seeking re-election skew budgets towards highly visible projects to fulfill key campaign pledges made since 2022. Yeah, even as some shift political loyalties, with opponents intensifying the push to oust them. The latest approved spending plans focus on sectors that target voters in the grassroots. The story is on page 4, and this is very clever for many politicians. So for the first 4 years, they do a lot of nothing. Ni kujenga maofisi, na kununua magari, na kuandika watu kazi,
na viti,
na kuenda trips abroad, Dubai na kwingineko. 1 year to election. Yeah. Now the new budget, kila mtu anaweka the visible ones. Kama kuna mwingine naona ameweka kabro kila mahali na anaweka tag juu ya kabro. If you pass through one of the, let's just say the city county of Nairobi. Ukipita town katikati ya usiku unaona tu mataa hapa na pale, kabro mpya hazikuwa, those things were not there. But towards the election now you see some shiny stuff. They're called shiny stuff. Yeah. So he's not the only one, and these are the governors, and there are many, by the way. There are so many who are first-time governors, so they're now dealing with shiny stuff wherever they are. Top politicians in final sprint to complete flagship projects despite cash crunch. So kutakuwa na shida as they defend their seats. That's the main story on the front page of the Daily Nation. Other quick highlights here. UDA defectors face Gachagua DCP trap. Walisema wameunda committee ya vetting. Au defect tu alafu nasema nimefika. Unapigwa msasa. Hivyo ndo wamesema kwa ukurasa wa mbele ya Taifa Leo. Wapigwa msasa. Political players defecting to DCP confronted with dilemma that could cripple their 2027 ambitions. A story here on page 3, haitafurahisha watu. YouTube has raised the bar for creators seeking full monetization.
Watch hours.
So new creators applying to the YouTube Partner Program will need 1,000 subscribers and 8,000 valid public watch hours in 12 months or 20 million valid public short views in 90 days to qualify for full monetization. Isi kazi rahisi? Yeah. If you thought, and I know many people have been told, don't just think that becoming a content creator will pay you directly. If at all you're expecting YouTube money, hapo utaumia. Imagine 20 million valid public short views in 90 days, beg your pardon, for you to be able to fully monetize your page.
Watch hours increased from 4,000 to 8,000. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Kama 4,000 in itself is very hard to get, then 8,000.
8,000.
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, that's tough. Content creators, creators will need 8,000 watch hours or 20 million short views within 12 months to qualify for full monetization. Tafuta kazi kijana.
Tafuta kazi, you say something about it. Na uzuri wa Kenya ni closed mouths don't get fed.
Yes.
So if you say you're not happy with this, I'm sure they might do something about it.
Or else just become extra creative so that people can come to your page.
And watch.
Watch. Because I think some content creators have become very mundane. They just think it's you come on camera and talk about nonsense and you get views. Unless uende kwa ile ingine ya OF. Pro Ruto Mount Kenya defectors face trap. We've talked about that. Ruto steps up attack on Kenyatta over 2027. We'll be talking about that. The president has been very quiet about his predecessor. But now he's accusing his predecessor of funding the opposition rivals as he quotes Western Kenya support. Ni kama sasa amekata kamba, amesema sasa ni mbaya. Wakati wa kampeni umefika, let's move on. Opposition and civil society question Ruto's development blueprint timing and motive. That's about Vision 2060, and that's something we've been talking about. On the back page, Referee Yembe, that's in the same story, from dusty fields of Nakuru. Oh, great people come from Nakuru, I tell you. Umesikia nani ametoka kwingine? Very great people come from Nakuru. From dusty fields of Nakuru to FIFA Club World Cup and UEFA Super Cup. That's, he was assistant referee, and it was Stephen Yembe. Yeah. All right, that's the Daily Nation this Friday.
Sawa. People Daily, the main story here talks about who's bleeding Kenya, and they've given it a very big space on the front page. How banks, financiers and governments borrowing are reshaping Kenya's economy and squeezing ordinary citizens. This story is on page 8. Kuna Mkenya hapo kweli kweli amechoka na maisha. So, they say that Kenyan taxpayers are already grappling with a high cost of living, and difficult taxes are being forced to pay commercial banks billions of shillings annually in interest on loans that the government has borrowed from the lenders. So Kenyan commercial banks, whose biggest shareholders reads like the who is who list of the wealthiest Kenyans, have become increasingly profitable over the last decade, revealing billions in after-tax profits every end of each financial year. So rich bankers squeezing billions from Kenyans. That is the main headline on the front page of the People Daily. You can read more about it on page 8, and that's the People Daily.
All right, let's take a look at the Star. What Rigath's rise means for Kalonzo and Sifuna matters to do with the United Alternative Government. MPs who impeached him trooping back to bow to his power. This is a story on the spread, pages 4 and 5. Yeah. Rigath's king moment. What his rise means for Kalonzo and Sifuna. Rigiji has spread his tentacles into the Maa community. We're driving a voter mobilization campaign. And it is true. For the last few days, it's just been in either Kajiado or Narok. Anakula nyama kukula nyama.
Yes.
Properly. Ile kwa matawi ile unashika unakata hivyo kikula. He's just been, and all the videos you see is of him with that Masai attire. So should the opposition win the 2027 presidential election, Gachagua would enter the new administration with significant political leverage, even if he's not the presidential candidate, which is true. Yes, he looks like the main mobilizer within the opposition, even when he's not being considered as a main candidate. Prepare for war off the battlefield, Ruto tells KDF. Hiyo kwani anamaanisha nini? Unaweza taka kujua. Ati prepare for wars off the battlefield. That story is on page 11. Hiyo lazima tuangalie anasema nini. We, sijaona. President William Ruto has urged the Kenya Defence Forces to prepare for emerging security threats. Yeah. KDF must not only simply defend the country in Kenya today, it must secure the country Kenya intends to become. Well, interesting. ODM and Linda Mwananchi trade barbs as battle for Nyanza intensifies. You said they're going to Homa Bay on Sunday.
Yes, on
Linda
the
Mwananchi.
16th.
Yes, that's something to look forward to. On the back page, back in the battle, Ulinzi Stars rebuild with urgency after survival scare. We're just counting down before most of the Premier Leagues, football leagues, kick off for 2026-2027. This is a weekend star. It's quite heavy. It comes with the Siasa pull-out. Opposition should challenge New Vision 2060 with hard facts. That's a discussion there. Grab yourself a copy for 60 bob. This is fresh, independent, and different.
All right, very quickly, Business Daily, Mudavadi Group to acquire insurance firms from ABSA. That is the main story on the front page. It has been covered extensively on page 2. All set for state concert, drama, was it music? Yeah, the Kenya National Music Festivals have just concluded at Kibabii University. Now they're going to the State Lodge in Bungoma. That's Business Daily this morning. On the ticker, Kenya to push for AGOA export tariff refunds on lapse, and BAT fights 4.5 billion shillings claim on nicotine pouches marketing. And of course, 460 billion shillings bond bids show weak private investments. Yes, that's the Business Daily. Nilikuwa naona kuna kitu Freddy anatafuta.
Because, okay.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at...
what was it about, ndo nikwambie?
It's what I'm going to next.
Okay.
It's about, now we're going to Uganda.
Yeah.
And the front page of the Daily Monitor is talking about a drinking nation.
Oh, wow.
So they say it is a drinking problem. According to the World Health Organization, the average person in Uganda consumes about 12.2 liters of pure alcohol per year, placing the country among the highest consumers on the African continent. You know, I was trying to get a comparison.
Kenya.
So, according to WHO, the typical Kenyan aged 15 and older consumes on average about 2.5 to 3.5 liters of pure alcohol per year.
15 years?
No, see, 15 years and above.
You don't find that concerning, 15 years?
Okay, forget about the age.
Okay.
Yeah. Either way, compared to Uganda, we consume about 2.5 to 3.5 liters of alcohol per year. Tuko sawa.
Yeah.
Uganda.
Drinking nation.
Drinking nation. 12 liters pure alcohol. They're not talking about at the drink you take, pure alcohol. Ile yenye unaweza osha kidonda nayo. That's the front page. Children, even in Uganda, children, 53% alcohol users before 18 years. 53%. Yeah? Below 18 years. 53, more than half of children, they are drinking alcohol in Uganda.
That's sad. You know, they wanted to increase our age limit to 21, perhaps. Yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't matter to me, but right now, they can increase actually. They can increase.
Yeah.
The new vision, new job terms for public servants. I don't know why they missed out on that big story there. Workers face dire consequences for non-compliance. Let's move to Tanzania. The Citizen, why local authorities need to adopt new financial tools. Local authorities need to move beyond dependence, blah, blah, blah. I'm looking for an interesting story there. Inside comprehensive water supply upgrade in Kizimkazi. You know, sometimes papers in Tanzania, to be honest, are very boring.
Really?
Which story would you know, like that story in Uganda about a drinking nation. That one, I'm telling you, that paper will sell. It's a Friday especially.
Yeah.
12.1 liter, it's like a liter of pure alcohol every month.
Yeah.
100% alcohol, kila mwezi.
Ama inawaambia waende wakunywe. You know, it's encouraging. It could be encouraging.
But they have very good nutrition wale. Hata wakikunywa liter mzima ya pure alcohol, wanakula katogo vizuri.
I know you're running out of time. Lakini, you know, I saw a conversation on X. People are saying that the quality of Kenyan alcohol is wanting. That when you compare Kenyan alcohol and other countries, like there's a way the Kenyan alcohol is not quite good.
Counterfeits and fake alcohol are very rampant. Yes, and they're sold in actually very serious establishments, and you'll be shocked. Gazeti la Mwananchi, polisi yaanza msako wa silaha nchi nzima. Ni baada ya upotevu wa bunduki Nzega kushtua, mikoa yakihakikisha silaha zake ikisubiri timu ya makao makuu. Meaning that official guns are disappearing. Official police guns are disappearing, and the police are now looking for them there. Those are the dailies, both local and regional. Let's take a look at the cartoons now. The one on the Star, Vision 2060, a caricature here of someone in a red vehicle, only President William Ruto. Igari haina magurudumu, ni wa Kenya wameibeba. People is carrying people. People are carrying the car and the vision.
Na the gari imeharibika kweli kweli.
Na barabara inaenda wapi? Singapore.
All right, that is the same one on the People Daily Sano Stake. Vision 2030, yes, Wakenya walikuwa wamebebwa, lakini Mission 2030.
Amebeba kitita.
Ni kitita sasa, Mkenya wewe umerushwa huko chini.
That was the Mission 2030. Let's go to the Standard. A caricature of the president there. Ameweka mahali, it's like he's fishing. Alafu mazungumzo yanaendelea kule kwingine. Who is sponsoring Sifuna, Matiang'i and Kalonzo? Is it the fourth? Then wengine wasema the fourth should retire honorably and leave politics to the fifth. That is neither here nor there. He has his rights. Yes, the discussion around whether or not President Uhuru Kenyatta should get involved in politics. He has the right constitutionally. Sasa even his successor anasema ule nani wao. Apana, this is not a caricature of the current president. It's a caricature of the former president. You know, this is Harry. The cartoonist called Harry at the Standard. Sometimes huwa anatu confuse.
Ameandika actually.
Ameandika kwa kofia ni Uhuru. Anasikiza tu akiambiwa na yeye ako hapo fishing, yeye hata shughuliki. Ameitwa the fifth, the fourth, ameitwa sponsor.
All right, let's take a look at the final cartoon, the one on the Daily Nation. Yes, the mountain. Of course, the caricature here of Mount Kenya leaders. Kuna yule pia Ndindi Nyoro ambaye ametulia sana. Transfer window is still open. Ukitaka kuingia the mountain, utapigwa msasa ujue.
Wanaangalia through the window.
Yes, lazima upigwe msasa.
What I find interesting ni hao wako nje, they are washing the yellow out of the hands. So they're washing the yellow off their hands.
Yeah.
Wakijaribu kuangalia wale wengine wafungulia dirisha. Anaambia you know the transfer window is open.
Yeah.
Osha mkono kwa. Huwezi ingia tu hapa fua.
Yeah. There's a way they called it earlier this week. Keyword. They said something.
One of these people wenye hapa nje was here on this panel a few weeks ago. Alikuwa anasema no, but you know Rigathi should be more uniting. You know he should be calling us together and uniting us.
Hapana.
A few months ago alikuwa anasema huyo jamani mkabila si mtu mzuri.
Hiyo sasa ni kuwekea mtu a lot of expectations.
Wash the yellow first.
Koma.
Right, those are the cartoons and the big discussions in and around the region. And this will form the basis of our discussions on the youth perspective. For now, let's take a look at the traffic situation in the major cities. Something interesting is happening along Thika Road. For the last 2 days, I'm not seeing traffic all the way from Ruiru. Ama waja update map mimi naogopa. Because it's green all the way from Ruiru, all the way past Kasarani, Githurai, KU, and once you get to the Pangani interchange, it's minimal traffic. Very minimal. In fact, the entire route for people coming from Kiambu Road getting into Muranga Road is green. Yeah? This is very interesting. I know it is a Friday, but this is not typical Friday traffic. We'll have to ask Google kama wame-update map ama wanatuchezea hata wao. Ama hata hawajafika kazini. Anyway, Eastern Bypass, a bit of traffic at Utawala. There's a long stretch of red there, meaning that there's slow-moving traffic. After that, it's green all the way to Cabanas. Yeah, what's happening? Hata kama ni Friday, it's already 6:32 in the morning. Outer Ring Road, no traffic at all. Jogoo Road, at least you can see some traffic at Makadara. Pale nafikiri kuna kuanga tu na magari parked permanently. Hata kama watu hawaendi mahali, hata ukiamka on a Sunday morning, utapata traffic Makadara. Na pale as you get closer to the City Stadium roundabout, pale Shauri Moyo. But people are getting into town. You can see a lot of traffic on Haile Selassie Avenue. All the way from KRA. That's a long stretch heading past railway roundabout to Landis Road roundabout. It's a deep dark red, meaning a lot of traffic getting into the city. And even the other side, those using Marikiti into the CBD, it's quite busy. Hizi zingine hata sio lazima tuangalie. It's green on Mombasa Road, green on Wayaki Way, it's green on Ngong Road as well, green everywhere. That's the traffic situation this Friday morning.
You know, when we're talking about that caricature ya kuosha mkono, and I said there's a term that they've been using. Hamtaingia DCP kienyeji, that is what I was looking for. Taifa Leo captured that on the 6th of August. Akasema, DCP party leader alisema hamtaingia DCP kienyeji. Right.
Mimi nakubaliana nao, osha mkono.
Big Feel Good Friday. Yes, we have a packed show.
Yes, for youth perspective, we'll be having Floyd Oma Okello, David Mehi, Wanjiko Thega, and Alionya Roslin. So do stand by for that conversation after the break.
Later on, DJ Bluey and Collins Kagiri will be here for the Full Good Friday edition. Do interact with us on our socials, TV47 Kenya, on Facebook and on YouTube. On X is TV47 Digital. Use the hashtag TV47 Breakfast, hashtag Soini2, hashtag Full Good Friday. My handle is at Annie_Dida.
Mine is at Fred Indimuli. See you after the break.
Good morning.
You have my rent?
Leo jioni kama hatutakuwa tumelipa rent, nauza hii simu yako.
Hamna pesa. I need 3 G's to make my nails today.
Sasa hivi natuhusu aje?
Can I order now? Do you ship? Can I get blinking ones?
Mimi nilikuwa na trade. Nimeekelea kitele yangu. Kitele yangu na trade. Nikikunyuma.
Oh my God. He left me. Nitumie ni live.
Uko nje kuna wifi.
Why? Hi-Fi?
Wait, so what do we call this dish again?
I have no idea. The cucumbers are there specifically for my beauty routine.
Tamulini kero umeka kwa beauty product.
Na ameenda.
Tunafaa tukuwe na logo yetu. Like, si ni brand already.
We won't entertain divas.
No. I'm not dealing with a man child.
Amazing. Nishapenda hii energy.
Sundays at 8:30 p.m. on TV47. Saturday at 8:30 p.m.
My father used to tell me that our hotel is the home for travelers. I guess I forgot that. Recently, it's been more of a mirror of my own ambition. Ooh, yeah. We might fail. We will probably fail, but not for a lack of trying. So for the last time, and the first time, welcome to Connect In, the best experience in Eastern Central Africa and its environs.
Saturday at 8:30 p.m. on TV47. Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m.
This is a very serious place.
I see that.
Surely. Hey, Nyumba.
This is the place.
Just for a few days.
Rule number 2.
Kwani Google inajua maisha yangu wewe?
That's my seat.
It's a chair. It was hers.
You're new here?
Yes.
You learned the rhythm.
This place is run by structure. Structure.
It is a system. Ni venye tu ni system haisikizi.
And what happens if something you haven't chosen enters your day?
I remove it.
That's not always going to be possible here.
Then you are going to have a problem.
Noted.
What are you planning? To escape from a resort?
This is not a resort, my friend. This is a storage.
Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. on TV47.
Nairobi, where the hustle never sleeps and neither do the scammers.
Link Up, we are talking about something that's affecting all of us. We are talking trust.
We're diving into the campus life.
Stay fresh, stay safe.
Stay linked up.
My father used to tell me that our hotel is the home for travelers. I guess I forgot that. Recently, it's been
as a clear signal that he has ditched UDA and cut his political ties with President William Ruto. Gatundu South MP Gabriel Kagombe has revealed why he quit UDA, citing the humiliation he says Deputy President Kithure Kindiki and Mount Kenya MPs faced during Monday's broad-based government retreat in Naivasha, where Kisii Governor Simba Arati openly declared in the president's presence that Kindiki's position belonged to the ODM party.
Now, he comes and calls all of us to a room. To a room. You call us to a hall. And then you send Simba Arati to tell us in no uncertain terms that you people are now not wanted. And going forward, this government will be between ODM and your side, and ODM must produce the deputy president as a reducible minimum. And we must have 50% of cabinet secretaries. And when there are mamas, the president stands and says, "Nyinyi mnyamaze hapo," telling you very subtly that I've heard what has been said, but please, you work with it. Know what to do. What is that person telling you? You know the Swahili say, akufukuzae, akuambi toka.
According to Kagombe, the meeting that angered Mount Kenya UDA MPs and led them to walk out has sealed Kindiki's fate in the broad-based government and marked the end of UDA's political fortunes in the Mount Kenya region.
Professor's goose is cooked. Cooked. Completely. It's cooked. And you know, now I've always heard of politics of use and dump. I did not know what that meant. I have just experienced it. Unajua vile tumesemana na hiyo serikali. You know, we didn't think that this guy could be so insincere. There are some things, mtu anakuambia with a straight eye, anakuangalia kwa macho hivi bwana. You wouldn't think that they could be lying. The meeting of Monday ilikuwa mazishi ya UDA. We buried that party. That is the truth. UDA cannot get the 5,000 votes they got in Olkalau. They can't even get 1% of that.
Kagombe claims it's only a matter of time before more UDA MPs quit the party, claiming that the majority of MPs are headed to the opposition.
Naivasha, mimi nilijua kimeumana maombi ya kufungua. After the national anthem, Bensuda akaombesha. Yani maombi, yani ilifanywa maombi. Maombi ndo, yani ni agenda iliyoko kwa maombi. Mtu anaomba anasema, wewe Mungu, tunakuomba wakati tunakuja kuchukua hii kiti ya deputy president utusaidie. Kwa maombi.
At his Gatundo South backyard, Kagombe criticized President William Ruto for failing to honor his campaign promises, saying this left him with no choice but to hit the call of Gatundo South residents to ditch Ruto and UDA.
You know, Apollo, when you go to a sitting president and you sit them and he comes with all grandiose, calls the minister for roads, where Chirchir kuja, and your PS and the DG Kera come, sit here, tells you where Kagombe sema shida zako. You know, when you chomoka State House, you go straight to the village. In fact, mwenye kidogo hata uende na truck uanze kuchimba kidogo ukiambia watu sasa maneno iko mzuri, tunatengeneza barabara. Bwana, that guy has done that to us every year. Promises za uongo bwana. Unaona promise watu wako unawaambia hizi barabara nitajenga. Jamaa amekudanganya.
The ongoing wave of defections in the Mount Kenya region is akin to what happened to the Jubilee Party, tilting the 2022 presidential vote in favor of President William Ruto. Apol Kamau, TV47 in Nairobi.
Exactly 361 days to the next general elections. The season of madness, as some people have called it, is here with us. Season of defections. Watu wamefunguka macho. Finally, eyes have been opened and everyone is crisscrossing to different sides. This is not just unique to UDA. We've seen it happen in ODM. We've seen it happen even with the DCP and other parties in other regions. Today, being the youth perspective, as we do every Friday, we have young political minds in studio, beginning on my immediate right, Alionya Roslin, who's a chairperson, Young Captains in ODM, Karibu sana. Next to Alionya, we have Floyd Oma Okello. He is a lawyer, a mediator and Secretary General of the Media Lawyers Association of Kenya, Karibu sana. Wanjiko Thega, a familiar face on this panel, a National Youth Caucus Chairperson, DCP Party. It's good to have you in studio. And David Mbehi, founder M-Taji and Chairman Mashinani Youth Kazi Delivery Movement. Karibu sana, David.
Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it is definitely the season. We'll come talk about Vision 2060 later, do not worry, we'll talk about that. But the politics is getting hotter, it's getting more interesting. It is a season of defections. I've seen one person tweet that the Mount Kenya MPs exiting UDA is not based on principle, it is pure survival. Yes? Aliona, what's your take on this? Because even your own party has suffered quite some shedding of people who felt probably they're not comfortable in that. Do you believe that any of our MPs, especially elected leaders, are joining parties or party membership is based on any ideology?
Thank you very much first for having me. And before I continue, I must apologize. There's a time I was to be here
and I failed to show up without communicating in advance. I know I failed the viewers and also the team. I am apologizing greatly. So if you asked me, there is no politician or member of parliament right now switching sides based on principle. It is purely survival and it is normal. It happened in 2022 where we saw, for those of us who are in Azimio, we saw people like Mudavadi, people like Wetangula switch side a bit the last minute, people like Mutua from Machakos switch sides a bit the last minute. To me, I understand them, because if someone wants to come back to parliament and they come from central Kenya, there's the urge or the belief that if you don't belong to DCP, you might not win the election. And we must be true to the fact that the politics of this country is tribal. The politics of this country is based on regional kingpins. So probably they have just looked and maybe said, so we must give it up to the DCP party for what they have done in central Kenya. So maybe it has pushed them to realize that if I don't contest on it, I might not get into parliament. But now the danger of this is that people who don't stand for anything are always elected into parliament because of the wave. It happened in 2022 where we got very many members of parliament who went to parliament maybe as first-timers or even second-timers, but we can't really see the tangible legislation that they have done as a legislative arm. So it has its dangers, but we must understand that these are people who are trying to survive. So like for my party, you have said it might be suffering, but I want to tell you, by the time we are getting into 2027 election, you will see a lot of defections from the Linda Mwananchi group now back to the political party.
For the same reason, political survival. Because
of ideology, number one, and because of the regions they come from. Let me tell you, if someone is contesting ideology in a place as a party, you must give it to ODM. At least the ODM, like if I mention ODM, there's one or two things you know about ODM, unlike most political parties. So there's what BAMBA has left us with in terms of democracy, fighting for human rights, and I pray that me as a young person in the party, I also continue the legacy. So I think it is that, and also the aspect of development projects that are going now to the marginalized communities that will now make some people to realize that.
Just like DCP, ODM will benefit from defectors who are hoping that just by being a member of ODM, especially in some regions, you will win an election.
That is true. And that's why I've highlighted the dangers. Because even in ODM, as a young person, there are some members of ODM that I feel like they have done nothing to help in democracy, to help in human rights, to help in legislation. I would wish for them to go home. But once they get the nomination, the party ticket, they're already assured of winning an election. So I hope we'll have free and fair primaries, so that if Alionia goes to the ballot with person B, Alionia beats person B, or person B beats Alionia democratically, so that the members of the party feel like they are part and parcel of choosing the leaders they take to the ballot.
Floyd, a few months back, the Speaker of the National Assembly pointed out to the members of the National Assembly that 60% of them would not be making it back to the House. Do you see the rush now? Do you understand the need to go helter-skelter, trying to survive? They've had 4 years to convince the electorate.
Yeah, for me, I feel like Kenya is full of politicians. We have very few leaders. And in the case whereby we have, in a situation where we have very many politicians, then achieving our national goal as a country becomes a big problem. So the threshold is very simple. It's either you delivered or you did not deliver to the citizens. And the citizenry understands their rights. We have social activism really rising up and coming up really strongly. The people know their rights. They know what they expect, at least on the bare minimum. So if you do not deliver on your promises, if you do not work for the people, then the ripple effect is that you're going home, and that is guaranteed.
But is it that ideal, Wanjiko? Because there's still that belief that as long as I'm in DCP during this wave, then I'm safe in Mount Kenya. The same way we saw with UDA when it was 2022, that as long as I was a UDA member, whether or not I had performed previously, it was a direct win. Is a voter thinking in that ideal manner that I'll gauge your performance? Am I just looking at the party?
Fred, thank you for having me. Good morning, viewers. That's a very pertinent question to ask, because I think we proved with the All Kalaba by-elections that what it means about an individual running for office. People actually weighed in terms of character, integrity, and we watched especially 4 DCP nominations, because we performed a nomination process. People actually looked at, accessibility of this leader, We even have a graduate who ran and won. So to move forward is that we are having a lot of defections, and we knew this moment will come. That's why we formed a new political vehicle based on ideologies that really meet and address Kenyans, and especially the young people. And you see, Kenyans have even said, and they keep saying this because sisi ni watu wa kusikiza ground, no matter how much they defect and come to DCP, people will remember their contribution to 2022 to 2027 politics. How did they contribute to their lives? So there will be a lot of assessments. And this is to say that maybe the people who are defecting are ready to lose 2027. Maybe their game plan is for 2032. So we have to also look at this from a long-term vision planning. And I'm really encouraging young Kenyans to also look at these politicians. They're tactful. They're looking at this game in a long vision. Moses Kuria himself said, 2027 is a minor convenience. The game is in 2032. So even we as young people are looking at this game in a long-term vision. But also and just to encourage Kenyans and just to point this out, we only have about 3,000 politicians in Kenya out of 55 million. I think we pay...
Elected.
Yeah, we pay too much attention to politicians. We also need to circle back and look at ourselves, look at our voting patterns, look at, what is my individual or personal commitment to nationalism and to our country? How do you want to grow your country? So we have to also get back to ourselves, evaluate, so that we make better choices in 2027.
Okay. But my concern now is about the youth. So far, the IBC, after the mass voter registration exercise, netted about 2.6 million new voters. And ideally, according to a supposition, is that these are fresh new voters. Just because of age, they've never voted before. Meaning that there'll be a different kind of Kenyan voter this time around. Politicians will use their same old habits, defect to the party of the moment, hoping that you'll get there. But will it be business as usual? After the next 2 mass voter registration exercises, there could be a chunk of about 6 million new voters. Will the choice by the voter change, or will we still go by the most popular party? If it's in Luo Nyanza, we know the party. If it's in Mount Kenya, we know which party. If it's in Rift Valley, you know which party. Will that be the case?
Politics is a game of interests, and how this interest is pursued by political leaders is in largely tribal ways. We have political kingpins representing regions, and as they pursue their individual interests, they, by extension, also help those that they represent have their interests met. With that said, I think we need to move from politics that looks at short-term gains, getting elected, to politics that looks at ideology, like we see in the West with the far left and the far right. It doesn't matter which party you are in, it's based on ideology. But just to answer your question more directly, I think the youth are going to be a game changer in the next election. And this is because they've been agitating for issues that are affecting them. And the government, the political players have started to listen, have started to engage them. However, I think young people need to organize themselves and pursue their own interests in the framework of a political party, because that's how our interests are pursued within our current political landscape.
Young people said they were partyless. They did not want to be bogged down within the confines of a political party, DCP or ODM or whichever. Are we saying that a short 2 years later, Alionia, we've gone back to the same, that it has to be a political party, that a young Gen Z or a young millennial is still subject to a political party? They cannot make a choice beyond that, that a young person, a Gen Z in Luo Nyanza, will just think the same way ODM does?
Thank you. Before I even respond to that, I think let me take this opportunity, because I've heard my sister talk about vetting of leaders who will be defecting to DCP. let me call out our friend Ndindi Nyoro. It is high time he makes up his decision. As young people, you know, we have looked up to him for very many years. He needs to decide whether he will join DCP, whether he will abandon UDA. There's a group of young people who saw hope in him.
But why Alionya? Why should he just focus on a
now
party?
They're calling him a watermelon. So that's why I'm like, for me, I wouldn't mind if Ndindi Nyoro went to DCP, because we now understand the way.
What if he ran as an independent?
Even the better, but communicate to your constituents, and which is largely the young people. Like, there are some young people, even me included. I love what he does. So him taking so much time deciding, just decide. We won't judge you. This is politics. We will understand. But for him, at least, you could see some of the things he has done is in his constituency, and you're like, if he can better the lives of the people he leads, then regardless of which political party he will be, there are people who might elect him for that. Now, on the issue of young people being partyless, I was amongst the people who were on the streets, and I remember I went to the streets when I come from the ODM party. I went to the streets with young people who are coming from UDA party, from KANU party, but by that time, we decided we are not going to put our party differences here on this platform. We are partyless, we are leaderless, we are not looking up to any leader to give us direction. We want to move to a certain direction. And when we were doing that, we had an agenda, or we had a common enemy, and the common enemy by then was the alleged finance bill. So we had something that was taking us to the streets. Even the way the politicians were, you know, spendthrift and spending a lot of millions to buy the belt, we were like, you are not appointed to do that, you are appointed to do this. So we were trying to oversight the executive, some of the legislatures, and also the finance bill, and raising some of the concerns. But over time, and I think many of the young people who are in that space, we started now having conversation amongst ourselves, because we could have meetings at night and ask ourselves, now, which is the way forward? And we realized no matter whatever step we took, we were not making any progress. Because you come and do something, they call you a mole. You come and do something, they say you have been sent by so-and-so. So as young people, we realized that if we continue doing this, we might lose out ahead of 2027. So we started calling out people to register as voters. We started calling out the reconstitution of IBC, because by then it had not been, the commissioners had not been put in place. And I think people now decided and realized that as a Leonya, how can I make a difference? Maybe run for office. So how do you run for office? You need a political party. So how do you choose a political party? So those dynamics came, and that's why you realize my sister would be in DCP, Leonya could be in ODM, because I'm looking at where the region I'm coming from, which is the most popular party. But for me, I was a member of ODM even before the protest, because of our party leader. I think he set the pace and did the politics of ideology. Now, for me, I don't fault any young leader who has decided to join a political party, regardless of which political party it is. Because if you want to bring the real change, you can't be elected on any political party, go to the county assembly, bring the changes that we fought for in 2024. You can't be elected, go to the National Assembly, oversight the things you have been oversighting on social media. That is the only way to bring change.
As a young Kenyan and as a member of ODM party, if let's say you vote in Nairobi and there are different candidates for governor, and out of the candidates, ODM has a candidate, and there's another candidate from, let's say, party like Wiper or any other party, would you vote for the Wiper party candidates if at all you found them more suitable for the position? Or would you stick to the party position? I will stick to the party position. Because, Fred, there are dynamics. In as much as we want to lie to ourselves about the diplomacy and whatever we wanted in 2024, there is no way, I don't want to say nothing has changed. Because me seeing my sister in DCP is a good thing, because there are things she's fighting for while in DCP. Her seeing me in ODM, there are things we are fighting for, and the thing we are fighting for, Fred, is youth representation. Isn't that the biggest problem that we've had? But we'll do away with it in the fact that, was it called 3-piece suit or something? 6-piece. A 6-piece suit, that because I'm in ODM, everything has to be in ODM, because I'm in UDA, everything. Yet I know there could be a better candidate to serve me. Aren't we as young people are just falling into the same trap of parties?
I think if we continue with this trend, we are not going to really make a lot of progress, because I feel like politics should be, and I still go back to that principle, that politics should be politics of ideology. If there's a better leader who can perform and can do a better job, let's give him the work, not because he's from this political party, but because he has the acumen to do the job, and he's ready for the work and he has the leadership skills. So if we start reducing this whole thing into a party position, and this is what the party has said, because our parties are tribal. Yeah, the regional kingpins, our parties are tribal. If you go to Nyanza, you can associate with a particular party, which is ODM. If you move to the mountain region, it's DCP. If you go to Kambani, it's the Wiper party. So if we start talking about, then in that sense, for example, if majority of the members from different parties will be from a particular region, then it means again we'll be electing people from the same community. So community identifying community. In that sense, we're not going to grow. So we are still going back to the tribal card. So let us have a larger and a bigger outlook.
And the expectation was that with this generation something would change, especially because probably we focus a bit too much on the national level politics, but there's also the county level politics, devolution, where MCAs matters, where governors matter. If at all we say that it has to be a six-piece suit, wouldn't we be admitting that we're going to fail at some point? I know you're a member of the DCP party. I'll be unfair and ask you that question directly.
You know, it's important that we understand why political parties exist. They exist to capture power. And for you to capture power, you have to push for, you know, a six-piece voting. And then that means that the work then fall back to the political party to vet, you know, politicians who come into the party. And also it goes back to also because we have to go through nominations. And that's why I said, even as, you know, voters, you have to do self-audit. How do I elect, you know, people who represent me? Because when we give people our businesses, you know, if you're interviewing people for to handle your business or, you know, run your business, you're very, you know, critical about who you give that job. We also have to relegate the same critique when we are choosing our leaders. But politics is local. Politics is local. So people we are all going to vote, we know, according to our tribes, because politics is local. And
whatever we saw in 2024 was a lie.
No, it's not a lie. It's not a lie because
we had
no. It's not a lie. It's a revolution because even party politics have shifted. Yeah. Young people are really fighting for their spaces within political parties.
Within tribal political parties.
And it's not tribal because you cannot say Linda Mwananchi is tribal. DCP has even transcended Mount Kenya. We are in Narok. You can see how we are moving Narok, Kajiado, Western. We are pushing and shifting narratives there. And you'll go to Western and find people talking about Rigathi Gachagua. The other day I saw a clip in Kisumu saying there are people for Rigathi Gachagua. So DCP is really transcending its borders, and we're happy because, like Floyd has said, it has to be about individual ideologies, but I want to also remind him that we have political party ideologies, and that's why people will find moving to DCP, especially young people, because the ideologies relate to them.
What about coalitions? Because even coalitions, coming together of coalitions means there's something common. UDA and ODM come together, and there'll be a UDA candidate, there'll be an ODM candidate in some places. Shared vision, shared prospects. Even then, a young Kenyan would not consider, because I'm a member of UDA, to vote for an ODM member, just because there's a UDA member of parliament. Do you think that it's a bit retrogressive? I'm not talking about the common, traditional, typical Kenyan voter. I'm talking about this new voter who will be casting their ballot for the very first time. David.
Well, firstly, allow me to say I don't think the Gen Z have morphed into a formidable political constituent. They've not been tried and tested. So it would be very hard to make large bets on them. However, political parties have certain advantages, and that's why they're the structure upon which people seek power through. Firstly, they make mobilizing resources to run a campaign very easy. You know, one of the biggest barriers to young people running for office is resources, right? Secondly, when you're planning a rally and you're within a political party, the party helps you through its grassroots structures to do so. And thirdly, when you get into power, say you're an MP, you're a senator, your main job is legislation and oversight. We've seen a lot of bills being passed by the UDA party because of the numbers yes. they have in parliament. And so I think it would be wishful thinking to say that just because you have a certain ideology, you should pursue it as an individual. I think there's value in coming together within a political party, pursuing power and effecting changes based on ideology. And lastly, I think young people need to move from just seeking representation. As a few years back we saw our democratic space was expanded. We had a lot of women get into leadership, and we commend the processes that took place, the people who led the processes that took place then. For young people to get into this position, it's not just about having that title. We should focus on change, because when you go back to the mashinani, when you go back to the people, across political parties, across the regions, the conversation is the same. People want food on their table. They want to be able to take their kids to school. They want to be able to have housing, to have universal health care or coverage. And so those are the things we should be seeking to get leadership to pursue, to change people's lives. And that's why I support the UDA party led by His Excellency President William Ruto, because consistently over time they've shown us that they have an agenda, they have a vision. So whether they achieve that vision, the jury is still out, but at least, and we've seen significant gains and progress
so you'll be voting
towards that vision.
6-piece for UDA?
For whatever party His Excellency President William Ruto has, and whatever political outfit
he will be in a
together.
political outfit with that includes ODM. Yes. Let's say, for example, and let's be honest, when voting, you may know the presidential candidate, the governor, probably senatorial, MP, and everything. But when it comes to the MCA, these usually are very new names, and you may not know the person.
Right.
So would you just vote for that person because they belong to that party?
Definitely not. Not just because they belong to the party. Firstly, I subscribe to the overarching ideology of His Excellency, who wants to push us to a first world nation within a single generation.
All right.
When I look at the opposition, I haven't seen anything to that effect. I haven't even seen what their plans for housing is, what their plans for jobs
are, I think you're
what their plans for healthcare
you're
are.
Eager to take us to that conversation about Vision 2060. Fine, let's go there. It's okay, let's go there then. Fine, the president has invited us into this national conversation, which is ideal. But then again, it comes at a time when we are in a very charged political environment. If you saw the picture there on the front page of the Star yesterday, it had the president, the prime cabinet secretary, the deputy president, and the ODM party leader holding hands. And that is the beginning of a national conversation. Where are the rest of Kenyans? Are we saying that that is a complete representation of Kenya in such a big conversation? Are we missing the point, Alionya? Is it okay to start a national conversation with half of this country?
Yeah, before I switch on to that, I wanted to give a recommendation on how we can ensure, in as much as we vote for parties in regions, we can do our due diligence as young people to ensure that the people we give the party ticket are the right people to fight for the changes we fought for. And that would be, political parties must stick to fair, free nominations, so that if Alionya has decided to vie for the Senate seat of Siaya, I go head-on with my party leader to the primaries. If he beats me, I congratulate him and ask my people to support him. If he beats me, actually we have written to the ODM party several times, and my party leader has been very categorical.
That party has been biggest culprits in issuing direct candidates, tickets.
This is the first time you're going to see things differently. And I will be here ahead of the primaries in May, around April. Please invite me back. I will not sit and allow anyone, not even the chairperson of the party. Unless someone goes unopposed, that one we will allow.
You're
but
if
there
will not be directing,
there will be no be directing, and you will be here, you will watch it. We must revamp the party, because you see, Raila Amolo Odinga is not there. That vacuum must be filled through fairness, democracy, and this is my prayer to all political parties, so that the best candidate is given the flagship of the party, regardless of which party. That is how we can be able now to to ensure that from all political parties in a constituency, we have the 4 best contesting on 4 different political parties, and then the Kenyans decide. Now, on Vision 2030,
2060.
Actually, the president challenged us because I was there. He challenged us and said he has not found the name. He just said we are calling it Beyond Vision 2030, but I hope you Kenyans tell me whether you want it to be a journey for 100 years or another 30 years or another 60 years. So it is up to us to give this vision maybe a time frame. But my concern would be, were the opposition leaders invited? I hope maybe they will clear the air sometime. But as a young person, I was there with young people from Linda Mwananchi, especially student leaders who are always criticizing the government, and they were given the microphone to air their concerns. I listened to how the Kenyans, because the microphone was going across, the Kenyans were responding to the questions of this conversation. And the greatest challenge they were highlighting, because when you look at the Vision 2030, the 3 pillars that were given, the political, social, and economic. For the political, we have made some strides, scoring at 88% point something. But for the economic and the social, if you look at the social pillar, we have not yet equitized the development across the country. If you look at the economic pillar, the young people are still talking about unemployment. So the thing that was raised that day greatly by the Kenyans is the aspect of unemployment, because it is the only way you can now make the economy, you know, work, because they have high purchasing power. That means industries are selling, income is being generated, taxes are being paid, taxes are being used to develop the country. We are not yet there. So the questions were revolving around, how do we now meet this economic pillar? And I'm calling on young people, regardless of which political party you belong to. This Beyond Vision 20-something does not belong to William Ruto. He will not even be there. My party leader stood there and told us, I will not be here even in 2060. I don't even know how long I will be here with you. This is your vision. You need to take precedence in it, give your contribution. And I looked back at Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, and I'm asking myself, if Professor was, trusted with the Vision 2030, why is he still being trusted with Vision 2060 or beyond 2030? It's because the young people, and we must agree to be corrected, we have not yet risen to the occasion. Because if you look at an urban planner, who amongst the young people can you just sit and say, I cannot continue talking about urban planning without calling maybe Wanjiku on the table. I cannot talk about economics without calling so and so. It is a challenge to us. Let us identify what we can do. Let us give our contribution, regardless of which political affiliations you come from. This is our vision. I'll be here 40 years from now, God willing. The child who is in class 6, and most of them were in that discussion, telling us the kind of education they want, telling us the kind of health sector they want, telling us the kind of jobs they want after they leave school. So it is a conversation I welcome everyone, and it just started. They have not made final decisions. It is us to give them the contribution.
Floyd, do you see it being all-inclusive at this time? And I'm saying this because there are moments a country gets into an environment where the feeling is about, we need to come together. Mm-hmm. We need to reunite. Mostly usually after a divisive election, when people say, okay, fine, we need now to reconcile and move on with the country. Mm-hmm. But now, where we are right now is serious politicking, serious political rivalry. Yeah. Is it possible to have that unity of purpose to come up with a proper vision at this time?
First of all, to talk just about the vision, and I just want to respond to my brothers later after talking about the vision. Actually, we have no problem, even if you want to launch Kenya Vision 200, 2078 or 2100, we have no problem with their vision. The only problem is, one, we want the public, for it to be a public document, the citizens to own it, yeah? You know, public participation is very important. It's actually part of our constitution, actually, Article 10. And if you come up with something, let it be citizen pushed and oriented, okay? Let the citizens feel as if this is our document. You remember the WACO draft? The citizens feel as if we had put our hands into this and this is part of us. Mm-hmm. So the Vision 2060, look at, for example, there are some pillars, very key pillars that form the whole Vision 2060. The political governance pillar, the social pillar, the economic pillar. We need to have a national conversation. Let the youths come in. The old people, the young, the middle-aged people. Let us have a conversation. Let us assess. We had Kenya Vision 2030, which was actually brought about by Mwai back in 2008, okay? After a proposal by the National Vision Steering Committee. Let us discuss and see On the political governance pillar, have we achieved the rule of law? Not yet. Have we achieved social justice? Not yet. On the economic pillar, we can't be talking about Kenya Vision 2060 when you're still producing 3,800 megawatts of power. We cannot be talking about Vision 2060 where we've not even solved the whole issue of the national debt at 11 trillion. That being our external debt at 5 billion, our internal debt at 6 trillion. Yeah? We cannot talk about national conversation like Vision 2060 when we are still, look at our country right now, our imports are at 489 billion. That's our imports. Exports. Our imports is at 725 billion. That's at 250% imports to exports. We are still talking about Kenya Vision 2060. Let us assess what we had first. We had agreed in Kenya Vision 2030 that Kenya will be growing at a 10% annual growth, economic growth. 10%. We are still doing at 4-5%. Okay? We are not there yet as a country. So let us not be overambitious. You can't talk about the roof when even the foundation is not yet done.
But there's a limit, Lloyd. We should look further.
We don't make steps like that. Have you ever seen a baby who grew teeth after being born? It has never happened in any republic.
It's a dream.
Yeah, it's a dream, and I agree. It's a dream.
All right.
That's on the issue of Kenya Vision 2060. On the issue of ideology that my brother has talked about, you cannot claim ideology between ODM and UDA. For Christ's sake, you cannot claim ideology between these two parties. The Orange Democratic Movement is a party that has been known to fight for human rights for a very long time. And of course, the party leader was a person who had a vision, to be very honest, okay? Now, when you start saying we have a similar vision between ODM and UDM, when even there was a breach already of the 10-point agenda, okay? There's a breach of the social contract theory. Thomas Hobbes talks about the social contract theory. And the social contract theory is the theory whereby the citizens entrust, they actually lose some of their rights and entrust it to the government in exchange for protection and law and order in the society. So once there's a breach of the social contract theory, and being that Kenya is a constitutional democracy, then we need now, the effect now becomes that we need constitutional accountability through the election system, the media, the press coming in, civil societies, and the judiciary of Kenya. All these institutions of government should be independent institutions. That's why Charles Montesquieu, the Baron, says that in his book, The Spirit of Laws, he says that separation of powers is key. Yeah? There is no liberty without separation of powers. The independence of the judiciary, a body that appoints cannot be the same body that dismisses. So let us be very open in our conversations. When we are here as youths, let's remove the political outfit, the party candidature outfit. Yeah? Let us just be youths. Let us discuss our problems as a nation.
All right.
Yeah.
Talking about politics and such visions, Wanjiku, many who have assessed the success rate of Vision 2030 pointed out that political leaders, especially successive governments, have treated Vision 2030 differently. That there are some who are forthright and pushed through with it, some were reluctant, some came with new ideas that did not necessarily align with Vision 2030. Now, we are in a situation where, because of the politically charged environment, we are seeing the current leadership of the government, which is one side of the political divide on this, meaning that there's a challenge that a new government or a new administration may come into place and does not necessarily agree with what you talked about. How do we ring fence such a vision if it's discussed with a big number of Kenyans, and we've already agreed on such a vision? Then a change in administration means that we now start doubting the same vision?
Fred, I can tell you with certainty that when we get to power, DCP, we take power in 2027, we are not going to adopt the Vision 2060.
I see.
Because we cannot be planned for our future by someone who murders its youth.
And that's a very serious allegation because
who murders its youth?
For someone to be accused of murder, it has to be in court.
Yes, yes.
Fred, unless you're saying
Fred, over 6 young people were killed. He
presided over an administration.
Yes.
That the security agencies are accused of doing that. Let's be clear.
Well, potato. But we know this is a government that has murdered its young people, so we can't entrust it to plan our future. So we are not going to, in fact, as young people of Kenya, we do not even have any intentions to even understand what that Vision 2060 is. Because number one, when you read the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto, you know, this regime is a government of failure. The Kenya Kwanza Manifesto was a brilliant document. Truly, if this regime committed to implementing this manifesto, President Ruto wouldn't be in the problem that he is. He wouldn't be facing one term. Number one, he failed to implement better. Number two, Vision 2030. In fact, I hoped that he would have done an audit of 2030, Vision 2030, look at where we are today, and, you know, do progressive work moving forward. But now he introduces another Vision 2060. After, you know, going across the country, talking about Singapore, and now he has introduced another model. You know, these are too many balls in the air. We know he doesn't implement. He makes a lot of roadside declarations. And being entrusted a country and failing us like this is such a sad moment. I want to even use numbers. When 2013 to 2017, the government, the regime then, the gross national income per capita was, it rose from 1540 to 2170 USD. It grew at around 410 USD. In 2017 to 2022, it rose from 1540 to 2170. That's 630 USD. You can see it's growing. When Kenya Kwanza administration took government from 2022 to today, 2025, and this is data from World Bank, it's dropped from 2170 to 2200. Only 30 USD today. That's what a Kenyan is earning. So listening to our panelists here who are on the government side talking about and praising this regime, you know, that drop from 630 to 30 USD.
But they may not be necessarily the same government that will implement or push for this vision. This is an administration that may go as far as 2032 if
but I'm telling you it won't.
But I'm talking about the successive governments that may come after that, because it's a vision for the next 30, 35 years.
No. And I've told you, Fred, I don't think you really understand the sincerity of what I'm telling you. We are not going to adopt Vision 2060. We cannot be, nobody can plan for us a future where he murders its young people. That document is null and void. We must audit Vision 2030 and ensure that we attain, because it was a document that was born out of a president who loved its nation, an economist, whom I've even used data to show how progressive he was. And I've shown data on how this regime has failed.
Okay.
Yes. So when we come to government, because we are going to do a really honest job, and we've had even President saying on TV that he doesn't even want a constitution of consulting. He doesn't, you know, value public participation.
Do you find the need for a vision, for Kenya to have a vision?
Yes, we have followed Vision 2030 dutifully. It's just that this government has really failed in its achievement.
Do you see the necessity of having a vision beyond?
Yes,
2030?
even Africa, we do have the Agenda 2063. In Kenya, we also have the Vision 2030, but we have to agree that it has not we haven't met.
So the biggest challenge right now is the issue of non-inclusion, probably.
No, it's implementation. We have a lot of theories, we have a lot of scripts, no implementation whatsoever.
Okay.
President says one thing and it is not implemented.
Do you see the pitfalls of this national dialogue? That yes, it's a good thing to have a vision, it could be a very necessary thing, but because of the politically charged environment currently, probably this, the quality of conversation is not ideal.
Firstly, allow me to give fact to some fiction, to shed light on some propaganda. I was there on the conversation on the future of Kenya beyond Vision 2030 yesterday. I saw Alionya, she was there. The president did not say we do not need a constitution. He said, and that's why context is important, he said that previously when Vision 2030 was being drafted, the constitution, it wasn't anchored in law, and the constitution did not require then that the government engages in public participation. But now we are privileged to have a new constitution. You know, "our" and "our" can sound the same depending on where you come from. To have a new constitution that does not require us to consult the people. It mandates us to do that. So I hope we get that clear and we do our research and have facts. Secondly, we might be biased, but factually, there's no problem I've had that people are ascribing to this regime that is unique to this regime. There are some problems that are systemic and perennial that cut across regimes. For example, young people dying in protest, which is very unfortunate. It's happened in every single regime. At least with this regime, we've seen steps towards police reforms to try end this problem once and for all. And lastly, the president is not recommending a solution. First and foremost, Anyang' Nyong'o and the Japanese professor did some diagnosis to try get to the root cause of why we did not achieve some targets with Vision 2030. And that's part of the reason why they're opening up this conversation to every Kenyan, regardless of your tribe, your religion, your political affiliation, to come together and to contribute towards curating and ideating the future for ourselves and for our kids. However, it's a conversation that is largely around how we should leapfrog from developing to developed status. And I know there's skepticism around, or even pessimism, but my call to young people is to tell them that we're all stakeholders to this great nation, and we should all come together and contribute to this vision. And it's not the first time this is happening. Post-independent Kenya, we had Tom Mboya and Mwai Kibaki come up with the sessional paper number 10 that laid the foundational economic blueprint for our new nation. Later on, as we've all said, we had Vision 2030 that has largely made significant gains on the political and social area, as well as, to a large extent, strengthen and expand our economy. But now that it's coming to an end, it's natural for us to talk about what next. We haven't given a solution. We are saying, let's come together and cumulatively and jointly as stakeholders to this great nation, think about what next. And I'll close by giving an example. When we say we want to be like Singapore, it does not mean that we want to copy them on every indicator, no. It's an aspiration. I used to be a footballer, and growing up, I used to look up to Messi, the GOAT. And I used to have his image on my bedroom. When I wake up, I look up to him because I wanted to play professional football. It's the same. Singapore itself was benchmarking in the 60s with Israel to find out how does this small nation, without arable land, without natural resource, be able to feed its people and export food to the world. It benchmarked with Switzerland to find out how another small nation without resources is able to attract global capital. And as we speak now, they had their own developmental blueprint that enabled it to move from a small fishing village to now one of the most industrialized nations in the world that exports refined oil, even though they don't have any oil deposits. That's the conversations we should be having about our future as Kenya.
And I now want to ask a question away from politics to young Kenyans. I'm looking at you as just young Kenyans, probably the ones who are expected to drive this vision. Yeah, forget about the millennials. It's probably the Gen Zs or the latter day millennials. And you've mentioned, David mentioned the East Asian inspiration. In the Kenyan sense, and the discussion already happening, is that there'll be a focus on agriculture, to manufacturing, to tech, export, productivity and stuff like that. But if you look at this generation, the Gen Z, I may be wrong, but they're totally averse to agriculture. Is it a miscommunication, or are we saying we should change the communication so that we ensure that agriculture, which up until now has been the backbone of the economy, is a conversation that the Gen Z are willing to take up for Vision 2060? Many people are going into digital tech, and that's what they talk about mostly. But agriculture as a path towards a new vision, do you see that happening? Do you feel it's misplaced?
Thank you. Before I respond to it, I think there's a concern where my sister from DCP have asked her if it is important for us to have a vision, or if she subscribes to the Beyond Vision 2060, and she has said she cannot subscribe because Ruto has killed. I want to remind Kenyans at home that in 2007, 1,000 plus people were killed. A community, in fact, let me just say the Luo community was the greatest casualty. But in 2008, when the president now brought everyone on board for a conversation, Professor Anyang' Nyong'o did not look back and say, look, people were killed, I cannot sit down. They sat down, they looked at the things that they went through in 2007, and they tried to write something on the political pillar to ensure that those things do not happen again. So have we made steps to ensure that we have the democracy for us to go on the streets and come back home safely? Successive regimes have tried, but we are not yet there. But can we get there? Yes, we can. So that's why we are being called to a conversation as young people. The things we went through in 2024, how do we ensure that we don't go through them, or our children don't go through them again 100 years? So telling us that you are not subscribing to a vision of your own country because people died in 2024, remember in 2007, a community died, but they didn't side away, or they didn't stop sitting on the table to converse about where this country should be. Mistakes have happened. Can we take corrections? Yes. Now, on the questions of agriculture, there's one thing you have talked about, that Gen Zs are so affiliated to tech. And I think while we were raising concerns yesterday in the Vision 2030, a lot of young people were raising the concerns of representation in the team. And I remember even when the team was now presenting the first document to State House, when they're now starting the conversation, I think even the president challenged them because the team does not have a woman, the team does not have a young person. So the president told them, you need to look for women to be in your team and also young people. So when you have a young person in this team, there's the aspect of tech and social media. There's a way we need to use social media to communicate to people how you can use technology in agriculture, because I don't think people are still farming maize the way they were farming in 1960s.
I'm talking about a focus on the digital economy.
Exactly.
More youth are more focused
into IT,
digital economy, more than agriculture.
That is true. But how can we integrate these two so that, yes, you are doing your agriculture, but you're still using the digital platform, or you are still using technology? I think that is the conversation we have. And the way you have said it, if this is the backbone that is creating employment, which can create even more employment if we take it seriously, it's a conversation that Gen Zs, I feel, also challenged, because I don't remember the last time I went kwa shamba kulima. I don't even know how to palilia sukuma wiki, but this is a conversation we need to be having. In fact, there's a member of parliament who told us we need to go back to the NYS. If you can have NYS, but now focus on even learning how to panda kunde at home, how to panda sukuma wiki, tomatoes, because these are things that are providing employment. These are things that you can do and sell these products. People are exporting avocados. How do we do more avocados? How do we do more, macadamia if you come from a region that is arid? How do you use the temperatures that you have for your convenience to provide something? So I think it's an idea. I hope the people watching at home, we can take the proposal from our journalist here and take it seriously, because we can raise a lot of revenue from agriculture.
All right, let's take a short break. We'll come back, we'll continue this. And I'm just using agriculture as an example because I'm looking at the generation that's supposed to drive this new vision. And are we using old thinking to come up with a new vision? You're watching TV47 Breakfast. Today being Friday, it is a youth perspective.
We might fail. We will probably fail, but not for a lack of trying. So for the last time and the first time, welcome to Connect In, the best experience in East and Central Africa and its environs.
This is a very serious place.
I see that. Surely. Hey, Nyumba.
This is the place.
Just for a few days.
Rule number 2.
Kwani Google inajua maisha yangu wewe?
That's my seat.
It's a chair.
It was hers.
You're new here?
Yes.
You learned the rhythm.
This place is run by structure. Structure.
It is a system, ni venye tu ni system eskizi.
And what happens if something you haven't chosen enters your day?
I remove it.
That's not always going to be possible here.
Then you are going to have a problem.
Noted.
What are you planning? To escape from a resort?
This is not a resort, my friend. This is a storage.
You have to be very careful. Fake money can kill business.
Na leo mko rada yangu.
Small money, kapesa kadogo, big behavior.
I only have big notes.
Alikuwa anatafuta courage.
Yaani nafaje kutengeneza kachumbari na manyanya zinakaa hivi? Ona kiki ni kama kiwaru.
Hiyo inaitwa commitment to the lie. Amejicommit.
Ndio hiyo. Mpatie.
Unajua kama una mtu kitu, hata tu salamu ya kawaida inakaa kama reminder.
Habari yako?
Sintalipa kesho.
Kesho gani when?
Si kesho as in kesho ya tomorrow.
Hiyo time. Mzee ni budi nikenichoka.
Ni budi ni madeni.
Welcome back. This is TV47 Breakfast, the youth perspective. I have young Kenyans in studio and we're discussing this national conversation that we're having, beyond Vision 2030. And I've just used an example of agriculture, which has been listed there as one of the parts towards achieving the economic pillar, because there's an economic pillar in the Vision 20, beyond Vision 2030 as well. But agriculture and the generation that is supposed to drive this vision, do you see a problem there, or do you think it's a conversation that we should have? Because agriculture, either way, still remains the backbone of this economy. Yeah. Yet in our curriculum right now, it is not even a mandatory subject.
Yes, yes. I get you. I thank you very much for that question. It's a good question. And I will start by saying agriculture is a very important discussion that we need to have, because basically agriculture is the backbone of our economy. That agriculture contributes about 24% of our GDP as our country, and of course supports 72% of our population practice the agriculture, really. So it's something that we really need to hold dearly as Kenyans, and because our climate, our conditions, that's why even the white settlers were here. And remember the Dovanshire White Paper of 1923, whereby the Africans were fighting for the land because of how fertile the White Highlands were. So it's something that we need it's a conversation that we need to carry and hold dearly as a nation. And on the same note, on the issue of agriculture, let's talk about what are we doing really to help to boost agriculture. For those people who are not there, I was not even there actually, but in the 90s and the early 80s, the Nyanza region was well known for producing cotton. So we were cotton farmers in Nyanza, and we had the Kisumu cotton mills, which used to help us, we had a gene there, which used to help us to the textile industry. But in the 1990s, because of the liberation of the cotton sector, the Kikomi died, so we no longer have it, and even our farmers stopped planting and doing cotton farming. So it died with it. If you look at the current trend, Nyanza also came up with a new crop, which we held dearly, which was the sugarcane farming, which the people from Awendo, Muhoroni, Chemelil area used to do it. And if you can see the Muhoroni company, sugar company, the Chemelil sugar company, and the other companies in the Nyanza and Western region have been actually facing setbacks a bit. So, and of course, it has really forced the government now to move into privatization of these companies. And I feel like these are important assets of our country that we really need to inject money into them to ensure that we are doing a good job. Because if we inject money into these companies, even the coffee and tea farms in the Rift Valley, if we really invest in them, I'm seeing that we are going to increase our GDP percentage from maybe 24 to 30 or 35%. So I think that is a conversation that we should have. That is on the issue of agriculture. So it's something we need to hold dearly. On the other line also, I'll be a very bad lawyer if I let it slide when we talk about human rights. Yeah, I want to just quickly say that human rights are very important, and this is not a concept that we came up with yesterday. Human rights have been there for a long time. This is something that started in 1215 in England.
It's part of the social pillar as well.
Yeah, we have, yeah. So human rights started a long time ago. It was not something that we gave back to in Kenya yesterday. In 1215, we had the Magna Carta in England. We had the English Bill of Rights of 1869, the American Declaration of Independence that claims that all men are created equal in dignity and rights. Also look at the UDHR, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of 1948. Article 2 of it talks about right to life. Article 1 talks about the liberty and freedoms of our citizens. So it is something that, look at the horrors of the Holocaust and even the coming up of the International Bioethics Committee. These are things that are conversations that are ongoing, that are just there to protect. So if people saw sense in us having human rights, then why an African country like Kenya in East Africa should be actually violating human rights in the name of that it has been happening in other regimes, so you know we are not new, it has been happening. It's not a trend. It's something that we should condemn in all forms. So I feel like that conversation, and actually, if you are a keen follower of the former Anglican Bishop of South Africa, Desmond Tutu, he says that if you stay silent or you become neutral in cases of injustice, then you have sided with the oppressor. So let us be a voice that can be heard. We can compromise on every other thing, but let's not compromise on human rights. And that's why the Constitution of Kenya, Article 25, talks about the non-derogable rights. The non-derogable rights, even in a case of a state of an emergency, like the one in 1952 by Sir Evelyn Baring, you cannot actually suspend these rights. There are only 4 rights actually. The right to from slavery and servitude, a treatment from inhuman cruelty and inhuman treatment, Article 29, and there are 2 more, which really talk about the right to fair trial. If you're in a country whereby things are being conducted in a kangaroo manner, yeah, you look at the process. We talk in law, we say the maxim of audi alteram partem, the right to be heard, fair trial. So if you start conducting trials like a kangaroo situation, Article 50 is being breached, and now we have a situation whereby now there's no fair trial. A man is a judge on his own case. Then we are not going in the right direction as a country. So there's a lot we need.
A lot of this were contained in the Vision 2030. Yes. Nothing much is changing. It's probably the paths that you're going to adopt. And one of them, if we may focus on the economic, Wanjiko, is agriculture towards industrialization. But if you look at what has been happening, and if I may use Kiambu for example, which was an agricultural county, a lot of that land has now turned into concrete jungle. It's buildings and residential places. And hence my question, what would it take to actually take us back to a proper path towards agriculture when we are in a place where agricultural land has been turned into something else, yet this is one of the paths towards industrialization according to this new vision?
Thank you, Fred. I'd love to give a rebuttal because there are words that have been thrown towards me on this panel. Start with my sister here from ODM. I'm not saying that I am negating Vision 2060 just because of this regime's killing, abduction of young people. I'm also negating because of the fact that this is a man who, on his manifesto, said, number one, he'll defend the Constitution. But we've watched him over and over again ignore the rule of law. And I think my brother here has expounded to how. Number two, he said he'll institutionalize politics, but we've watched him militarize and criminalize politics. I am actually somebody who has suffered the brunt of him criminalizing politics, of attacking dissent instead of, protecting dissent, because dissent is true democracy as well. We've watched him militarize politics. Look at the digital surveillance today that is done in this country. Look at the weapons that are used on young people during, protests, and which are usually useful. And number three, because of not fulfilling his promise on solving the unemployment cases in Kenya. Therefore, for me, and him talking about moving us to first world, while not even fulfilling his own manifesto, which was something that he had already committed to Kenyans, that shows me that he's not a man of his word. And that the document that he's creating is not coming from a true place and a genuine place, unlike Vision 2030. To move to my brother here, I want to tell him to never justify deaths of anybody whatsoever. This is a government. Government eats its own people. Today you will defend this government, tomorrow it will turn to you. And maybe you might be among the people who suffers the brunt of this government. So in every way, let's never justify deaths, whichever regime that we get into, because we are the leaders of today. We are the young leaders, people who are going to shape politics. And we are shaping politics today. So we have to do our politics differently. We have to do our politics differently if we want a different country. We must be firmly rooted in, we have to be rooted in leadership that is very progressive. To get back to your question, you see, we have to go back to colonial period. Kenya, what was Kenya to the colonialist? Kenya and Africa at large was a producer of resources. So we produced resources that were taken back to the Western countries for their use. So never had they, created structures for food security. And that's why we've struggled with food security for a long time. I know food security is among the pillars for Kenya Kwanza, and I had hoped they'll do much more. But we have to, like now Kiambu, why has Kiambu now become a concrete jungle? Because Kiambu tea and coffee, actually it's the tea and coffee farms that are being cut down, something that His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua was truly fighting for when he was in government has long gone been ignored. So people are not finding value in coffee and tea anymore. They were cash crops that gave back, quite some good returns, but it's not. So people are cutting them down. So if we can monetize, agriculture better so that people can find value and see it as an enterprising activity to get into, then it will stop.
Do you see a possibility of us as a country reversing some of the land policies that we've had wrong? Because agricultural land should be left for farming. We've turned fertile land into residential areas. Is it a conversation that a young Kenyan feels? Because we're looking forward to the future of our country.
Yes.
We could all just be having houses everywhere. Without land.
We even actually here in Kiambu, we had the issue. We've had some policy land reforms, but some of them we've been against them because it's taxing freehold land and so on and so forth. But I think it has to go back to dialogue and financing agriculture. You see, we have a lot of challenges when it comes to agriculture. Look at, if roads are not good, then market accessibility becomes tougher. Accessing markets is something that young people find a challenge with. Post-harvest losses also contribute to about 50% of losses from the farm. I know you've seen videos of people, with tomatoes feeding to cows, cabbages, milk is being poured. So we have to go back to looking at the value chains in totality and finding ways on how you can make, farm gate prices a bit more transparent, maybe moving fully on digital platforms so that, there's accessibility. Because we have a lot of brokers who, make more money, yet they do not even contribute towards the value chain. Yeah. But also, we need a lot of investment in, value addition as well. So a lot of collaboration is needed, and also we need to make financing available for young people. Like us, where I come from, our farm back home, we moved from, planting maize and beans because we found it's not making money. Now we've moved to fruit farming, and now we are actually exporting to China.
So it is what?
Yes, avocado. But you see, my grandfather had access to a farm, about 200 acres. Something that young people are not have accessibility to.
Yes, land is a big issue, and I see you itching to contribute before David touched upon this.
My take on it is, yes, we're having the conversation about us advancing our agriculture, and it's a good conversation. But we should also be honest to the fact that we are living in the tough times, that people's appetite for real estate is growing really high.
Do you think that psyche in our country will change? Real estate is a big deal and it's paying.
It's not about money. Yeah? If it is to the point that we want to even sell national parks to establish building, it is not about money. Because if you go to Kilimani, you know, rural and urban planning is that if you're setting up a space, let's say an estate for people to stay, or a house, developing a house, place for people to stay, there should be recreational areas for people. If you go to Kilimani, it's the opposite of that. People are building helter-skelter. Chinese companies are everywhere. People receiving bribes left, right, and center. So if we want a country that people will be buying large tracts of land just to develop concrete jungles in the city or in the country, we'll have problems. And let me tell you something. I'm not going to lie to you. Agriculture will drop because people are now encroaching even into forests. So our agricultural, maybe production and even its contribution to the GDP will go down. Yes.
Agriculture, our biggest export so far. We're now looking at a vision where we were going to mainstream it. Yet there are serious challenges. These are the conversations we should be having. It is good to have a dream, but do you get the feeling that we've already done so much damage that it would take a lot more than just simple talk to reverse it? Land use, land acquisition, land administration is one of the biggest problems we have. And it could impact even our plan to mainstream agriculture as the best solution towards industrialization.
Allow me to frame this conversation in the context of a global interconnected economy, or village, as we like to put it. There are currently structural shifts happening that are positioning Africa advantageously, especially in agriculture. Number one, the Western population is aging, and with it, markets are declining. And so capital is searching for new frontiers of growth, which brings to the second point about fossil fuels, which largely powered the previous industrial revolution, but now are no longer sustainable to power the next revolution that's currently underway. And the world is looking for, green, renewable energy sources that we have an abundance of. Kenya, as you know, has about 90% of its energy mix from renewable sources. Lastly, tech and AI are replacing labor and capital as factors of production, leaving two factors that we have natural advantages in: land and labor. We have the large arable land, favorable weather, and a huge youthful population. However, we're not utilizing it. In my economics class in university, I learned about the theory of absolute and comparative advantage by David Ricardo, which argues that nations should focus on the production of goods that they have both a natural and competitive advantage in. And so for a huge part of our history, we've been trying to do everything unsuccessfully. Maybe this is the time where we can go back and focus firstly on the agrarian revolution, in quotes, by looking at how can we create food security for our people? How can we ensure that our farm produce does not go to waste? How can we industrialize based on the green economy, add value to agricultural agricultural outputs, export the surplus, do import substitution through that model? And why, I support His Excellency the President is because of the National Infrastructure Fund. I'm sure you're asking how that fund connects to agriculture. And
my concern is not even it's the land.
Exactly.
Land use. One, the land use. One, the mismatch with this generation that is a bit averse to agriculture. You talked about human resources and land as the two main things that we have.
Yes.
We just talked about how arable land is being turned into residential areas. Those are the challenges I'm looking at. And is there a possibility that we should have that conversation on reversing some of the things that we've done wrong?
Exactly, absolutely. When you talk about infrastructure, it's not just the roads and the buildings. It includes farming infrastructure like irrigation systems, solar panels to power that irrigation, as well as all the input and machinery that go hand in hand. One of our biggest problems as a nation is how our economy is structured. We're exporting raw commodities and importing finished products. What that means is we are spending more importing than we earn exporting, which leads to all the fiscal problems that make us naturally go and seek debt to cover those gaps. And as we saw last year, we had a budget of about 4.4 trillion. We raised about 3 trillion, leaving a deficit of 1.2 trillion that we went to external markets to raise as capital. With the National Infrastructure Fund, we will remove debt from our public balance sheet equation because we mostly borrow to fund infrastructure. And as we remove debt and these infrastructures mature, we will naturally move into value addition, into import substitution, into manufacturing, solving that structural problem. And as I said, infrastructure is not just roads. It includes those farm inputs that farmers need to power their production,
if we still
and not remain as subsistence farmers.
Yes. If we will still have land, that is, because that's my biggest concern. Anyway, we have about 5 minutes, so I'll give you each 60 seconds only for your parting shot, just a parting shot, not a new contribution to anything. I'll start with you, Aliona.
Before the parting shot, but I'll speak within the 60 seconds. I think what I agree with, what I see with my peers here is that they're agreeing we need to have a conversation because they have very good proposals in agriculture, like my sister is talking about Kiambu. But that is why we have been called on the table, and I'm calling upon all of you, when that time comes that we are having a discussion in Kiambu, kindly show up. And as you're talking about agriculture, you need to know that China is the most, is the country with the highest, land on real estate, but they still produce and they're still exporting. So they have leveraged on technology where we have underground farming. So as a country, and I hope the committee that will be doing the Beyond Vision 20-something will incorporate the transmission of AI and automation to try and look at how can we do things differently, that even if we have 30,000 story buildings, someone can still be doing smart farming, maybe on the sides. So technology must be aligned within the Beyond Vision 2030. And that is why I gave a recommendation on agriculture. In the Azimio Manifesto, we had the proposal of one county, one product. And I asked the critical question, why is it that Kakamega is producing maize, but the maize is being milled in Thika? The problem is infrastructure development. When we'll now have roads in Nyanza, we'll now have roads in Western, they'll be able to farm, produce and process. By that, they'll be creating employment for the people in that county, and also creating more employment in terms of distribution of the products to other relevant counties, so that Kakamega produces maize, processes it, Kiambu produces maybe pineapple, processes it, so that we are able to even do the selling amongst ourselves without depending on the exports or the imports from across the country. And lastly, as I wind up, to our fellow young people, let us put the politics of regions, the politics of emotions aside. The conversation of Beyond 2060 is a conversation of you and me, because we will be here for the longest. Ruto won't be there, Oburu won't be there, Mudavadi won't be there, but me and you will be there. Kindly be part. Come on the table and give your contributions.
Thank you, and you've used enough time for the rest, so yours is reduced to 45 seconds now.
Yeah, so very quickly, I will say thank you very much for this opportunity, and for our viewers watching, I will say my party shot, actually, first of all, is just quickly, let's have a honest conversation as a country. On manufacturing, which is, he has just talked about our country actually exporting raw materials and importing the finished products of the same raw materials. So we need to work on our industries. We had projected that by 2022, according to the third medium-term plan, we were supposed to have that 15% of our GDP was supposed to be from manufacturing, but we have not yet achieved that. We can only also achieve proper, a country can really grow. The Asian tigers, the Singapores, worked on their manufacturing. So if we are still doing 10% import duty on industrial sugar, we need to work on that. If you're talking about collecting 2 trillion and using 1.5 on recurrent expenditure, then forcing us now to use 500 billion on development, then we have a problem with a deficit that we need to work on. So we are forced to borrow more money to just cater for our current expenditure, which is actually criminal. So we need to work on that. Then very important, politicians need to reduce the appetite on national assets, people to be hands-off national assets.
Especially land.
Especially land. They have a very high appetite, which is bad.
Yeah.
It's very dangerous for a country.
Walisema wanatafuta shamba na tochi usiku.
People work with files of their vehicle, the boots of their cars, with the land, showing land parcels and surveys. In 2060, Vision 2060, if I cannot live today, don't talk about 2060. I'm struggling, I can barely eat today. So don't tell me about Vision 2060. Right. And if it's that Vision 2060, do an audit of Vision 2030 first before we talk about 2060.
Thank you, Floyd.
For me, I'm urging young people. I feel like we've relaxed on the issue of voter registration. Young people, the task ahead of us is quite heavy, and I need all of us to be armed with a voter's card. Please understand the IBC schedule. And itafika time, the voter registration itafungwa so that they can do the voter registration voter audit. So please, we need to, story last minute, please, let's not do that. Please visit your constituency office, get yourself equipped, armed with a voter's card for 2027. Another matter is that, please, subscribe to a political party. Welcome to DCP. So many young people are running for office. Fred, by now I have over 2,000 young people who have registered as aspirants. We need to support them because during nomination process, ni wanachama pekee wanaweza participate, which will be, I think, around March. So let's register to DCP so that we can ensure we nominate young people to have the party tickets to face the ballot in 2027.
Thank you. Finally, David.
I'll finish by saying that no country can or has developed without a developmental blueprint, which largely is a guiding light or the true north, if you will, that shows you where to go, how to get there, and what to do before you get there. Mm-hmm. Can you drive a car without headlights at night? No. Can you, a captain steer a ship or a pilot fly a plane without a radar? No. And so we need to come together to have this conversation about our future. And development is both a destination and a journey. It's both an outcome and a process. And you don't have to wait to get to the destination for the 60 years to elapse, even though we haven't said when it would be. It's part of the conversation, for you to enjoy the full benefits. At every stage, as you inject capital into development, into infrastructure, you are able to see people's living standards improve. And I'll finish with an example. China. 1978, a poor nation, agrarian society. In the 90s, they formed many infrastructure funds that were managed by the China Development Bank that allowed them to invest in, a speed rail, in massive infrastructure, in ports. And by 2000, in about 20 years, they moved from, poor to wealthy. And now it's one of the world's largest economies. And so it's possible. It's these infrastructures, these shiny things that largely are the difference between where we are and where we want to be. So it's possible. Let's join in. Let's come together. We are Kenyans. We own this country. We are stakeholders. And let's push this country forward.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, of visions and shiny stuff. David Mbehi, founder, Mtaji, and chairman, Mashinani Youth, Kazi Delivery Movement, Asante Sana. Wanjiko Thega, National Youth Caucus chairperson, DCP Party. We have Floyd Omo-Okello, lawyer, mediator, and secretary general of the Media Lawyers Association of Kenya. And last but definitely not least, Alionia Roslin, chairperson, Young Captains ODM. This has been The Youth Perspective, as we do every Friday, right here on TV47 Breakfast. Asanteni sana for your time at TV47. It is a feel-good Friday, so DJ 254, Bluey 254 will be in studio, and alongside Annie Odida and Collins Kagiri. Okay, Mambo Entertainment. The weekend is starting. My name is Freddie Ndimuli. Enjoy that weekend.